As you board, please move across your car to make room for everyone, and kindly offer available seating to those needing special assistance. If you're standing, please hold on to the handrails and stay clear of the doors. They will be closing in a moment. Thank you.
Hey, howdy, hey, and welcome to another episode of Disney Assembled. I'm Troy.
And I'm Mimi.
And we are your happy little father-daughter podcast, here to create joy and share our love for all things Disney.
Disney Assembled is sponsored by our patrons over on Patreon, Brenda, Danny, Connie, and Andrew.
Yes, thank you guys so very much. If you would like to join them and be part of our Patreon Disney Assembled family, just head on over to our website, disneyassembled.com, and click on the Become a Patron button. Membership starts as little is $2 a month, and for that, you get access to all the exclusive patron-only content over there. But of course, if you love Disney and you're looking to add some additional Disney joy to your week, you should really check out Magic of the Mouse Radio. Magic of the Mouse Radio is the best place for online Disney music 24/7, 365. magicofthemouseradio.com. You can go to our website too, DisneyAssembled.com, click on the Magic of the Mouse Radio icon there. This show, Disney Assembled, is so proud to be part of the Magic of the Mouse Radio family. You can hear us on that station every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern.
In addition to being a part of the Magic of the Mouse Radio Network, I am so proud to be part of the Magic of the Mouse News Network. magicofthemousenews.com has articles for anything and everything you might want to read that is Disney related. I actually did just publish an article, or it's on its way. I sent it in to Bill about the new Little Mermaid. So
cool.
Go check it out. Go check out magicofthemousenews.com.
Yep, check that out. It'd be great stuff. All right. Excuse me. So Mimi, this is the portion of the show that if we had some new reviews written on Apple Podcasts, we would read them. We don't have any this week. So if you're listening to the show and you haven't had an opportunity yet to leave a rating and review, please consider doing so. It helps the show, helps spread the word about the show, helps find new listeners. We'd appreciate that, especially on Apple Podcasts. Most of our listens come from Apple Podcasts. So if you're listening using Apple Podcasts and you haven't done a rating and review yet, please do so. Please consider doing so. We'd love to get that, potentially read your rating on the show. All right. It has been a while since we've recorded, Mimi, because we did 2 episodes back to back. We recorded them pretty much on the same day a few weeks ago because you were unavailable to record last week. And like you shared with our listeners in previous episode, you were on a big college trip, right?
Yeah, we were.
People are curious. I know people who listen to the show are invested in the show, and they love to hear about what we're doing outside of Disney from time to time. You want to give maybe a quick review or synopsis of your wonderful college tour trip?
Yeah, so my mom and I left Houston and we went to Fayetteville, Arkansas. We toured the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. It was nice. We liked it. And then we went to Memphis. We visited Rhodes College.
Go Lynx.
That's okay. You've never done that before in your life.
Go Lynx.
That's where Papa went. We really liked Rhodes. It definitely shot up the list after that. It's a really pretty campus, and Memphis is cool. And then we left Memphis. We went to Columbia, Missouri to tour Mizzou, University of Missouri, for their J School, their journalism program, which is like the flagship journalism program in the entire country. We really liked Mizzou. We did. Definitely a great option. Mm-hmm. And they also have this really cool, like political science adjacent major, which is really interesting. And then after that we went to Illinois. We went to Urbana-Champaign for the University of Illinois.
Right.
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you drove through Chicago, because we have friends in Chicago, but they weren't home, right?
We drove through Chicago on our way back from Wisconsin.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So after Illinois, we went to Wisconsin, Madison, UW-Madison. Loved UW-Madison. Really pretty campus. Our tour guides had a ton to say about the school, like privately, like not just in the big group. Like, hey, this is our rec center. We have a pool. Like we talked to them about their experience, and they really liked the school, and I think that was impressive. And then on our way back from Madison, from Madison to Bloomington, Indiana, we drove through Chicago. It was nice. I liked Chicago, but we didn't get to stop there, unfortunately. And then the last stop on the tour was Indiana University in Bloomington, also a top journalism program. It was nice. We liked it. But by the time we got to Indiana, I was sick of the tours and here's our rec center and here's our science building and here's this. And like, I was kind of over it at that point. So I didn't intake as much information from Indiana as I wanted to, but I'm definitely going to go back and like look at their website and really like take in the school.
I think you were really impressed with Indiana also.
I was impressed with Indiana. I just didn't get to take in as much as I wanted because I was just so like sick of hearing like the student leaders like, good morning, it's 7 a.m. Here's our student rec center. We have a pool. Right. Everyone, like it kind of mixes together at a certain point. But
because a lot of these places all have the same kind of amenities, right?
Yeah. So. And like Indiana wasn't originally on our what's it called? Itinerary. It was kind of like, it was like a last second, like, let's see if they have a tour tomorrow and let's go see it kind of thing. So I wasn't even like really prepared to take in information from Indiana, but it was good. I liked it. And now we're home. So
yeah, there you go. Well, congratulations. I know there are other colleges that you have interest in, but these were the ones you were able to visit on this tour, this big trip. And it's all very exciting as you go into your senior year of high school and have to make these big decisions, but
it's okay.
Congratulations. So if you're a listener out there in one of those states and you want to try to sell Mimi on one of those particular colleges, shoot us an email, disneyassembled@gmail.com. And, or if you just want to wish her luck, it's a big time in her life. We're very proud of her as she explores what to do in this next chapter. And so some words of encouragement would be great from our listeners. We really appreciate that.
The family I babysit for, the dad went to Mizzou, and so he's like on Team Mizzou right now.
And there's another family where the dad went to Michigan, and I know he's been pushing.
He really
Michigan.
wants me to go to Michigan. Yeah.
And I think you're interested in Michigan.
I am interested in Michigan. It didn't fit into our tour. It was a little too out of the way. Right. But yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to help us out, you can send words of encouragement. That's great. If you want to really help us out, join our Patreon.
If you really want to help, just put money in our pockets directly.
You can join that Patreon because...
And if you especially want to help and you work at Columbia University in New York, put in a good word for me. Thanks.
Yeah, it's kind of your dream choices. And so, but yeah, in all seriousness, folks, we said this from the very beginning, the Patreon funding does go to offset the cost of the show. But any money that's left over after paying off the cost of running the show, if there is any, those pennies go into Mimi's college fund to help her out. So yeah, there you go.
I also am less sick than I was the last 2 weeks. So I was sick literally like the day we recorded, and then the next day I was like totally fine. And we couldn't have known that, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
I'm still kind of coughing.
And maybe
you can kind of hear it in my voice, but I'm good.
We're going to get to our Disney topic here, but I think this is fun to have this conversation with you because we do have listeners. I mean, people from all over listen to the show every week. Do you think it's worthwhile maybe explaining what you're at this moment, what you're interested in studying in college? Because maybe some of our listeners may work in that industry and may want to get in touch with you about some advice. Okay.
So hang on. Excuse me. Sorry,
she's feeling better, but she's got the cough of Rooney's.
I do have a cough. Okay. So I initially wanted to study film and be a screenwriter, and that's not off the table. But the more I thought about it critically, the more I thought I'm a creative person, and my high school has set me up with the skills to become a screenwriter. And I can do that without having a degree in it. And a degree in it would probably be helpful for connections and things like that. But, it's definitely a passion of mine. My heart maybe not is in it as much, but I would still love to do that with my life. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
My heart really is in political science and political thought, and like not necessarily journalism, but like how can I work in a governmental office and a political office and use my ability to think critically and tell stories like clearly to better like our systems that we have in place, right? Mm-hmm. So I currently want to go into political science and media studies. which is different than film, but they are adjacent and they're typically in the same program. It's typically like a film and media studies thing, and you can do like the film track or you can do like the journalism track, and it's like how can we put the ways that we communicate. It's kind of like a mix of sociology and communication and journalism all in like one major.
Right.
And schools like UW-Madison and Indiana are kind of like the flagship schools for these programs, which is why we're looking at them. And yeah, kind of like that. But I don't really know where I'm going to, excuse me. I don't exactly know where I'm going to land yet, as most undergraduates are. I mean, like, you have a degree in business. I mean, like, not what you do at all. But my mom has a law degree. She doesn't use that at all. Like, but well,
we use it in our everyday lives, but not in a professional manner.
And like, I don't know where I'm going to land yet. And maybe all of a sudden I get to college and I'm like, well, I actually really do want to do film. I'll already be in the department.
And I think that's what college is for. Is trying to figure out what you want to do and get a chance to hone your skills and
I'm definitely
prove to the world that you are, you're a hard worker.
Yeah.
So,
I'm definitely torn between like this and that, like my very like critical thinking side, my very creative side, which is why I think media studies is a good like mix of the both. But I do want to do the college program in my college time.
Disney?
Yes,
definitely.
I do want to do the college program. If any of you did that, please let me know how it was, because I hear some horror stories about the college program.
I hear some good stories too.
Yeah. So it's a mix, because I think it at the end of the day, it is still very much work.
Well, if you're listening to the show and you have any advice for Mimi for either the Disney college program or based on what she described as her ideal, course of study, feel free to reach out to us. We'd really, appreciate that. DisneyAssembled@gmail.com. And we'll get you in touch with Mimi. And yeah, if you could help us out with just context and wisdom, that would be great. We really appreciate that. All right.
Disney time.
So today is Saturday, June 17th, 2023. Tomorrow is June 18th, 2023. It's also Father's Day. Is it Father's Day is it around the world? Maybe just the United? I don't know if it's the United States thing or not.
And we're giving you our top 10 Disney dads.
We're not doing top 10 Disney dads. No, we're not going to do that. But what we are going to do is we do have a main topic that is related to fathers and more along the lines of father figures. Mimi, you want to tell everybody what our main topic of the week is? Yeah. So we were sitting around and we were kind of jostling back and forth with these ideas, and we didn't really want to do just like a, like, here's our favorite dads. Not that that's bad. You can look that up, right? Right. Not that that's bad, but there are thousands of lists that exist that are, here are my top favorite Disney dads, and it's all kind of the same list. And we're kind of, messing around. And then I was like, well, why don't we talk about unconventional dads? Well, you brought up Din Djarin. And whatever. Father figures. Yeah, right? Unconventional dads, father figures, like, and that's sort of where my idea came from, because you're talking about Star Wars, and so yeah, our list is not favorite dads; it's our favorite dad figures. Right. So we're going to go through our top 8, and we're going to rank them in order of who we think are the best father figures. So these are people who acted with another character in a fatherly capacity. Right. Either teaching them something, taking care of them, something like that. Like, right. Yeah. Right. So we'll do that. We'll do a countdown. And we actually did rank these, from 8 to 1. That's going to be lots of fun. Like I said, it is Father's Day. This episode will be published on Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. Yeah. So that'll be a fun list to do. But you know what else is fun? The Disney dad joke of the week. Absolutely. The Disney dad joke of the week. And as a special treat to all our listeners out there, being that this episode lands on Father's Day, we will have 2 Disney dad jokes of the week. No way. You get a bonus dad joke for Father's Day. So that's crazy. Isn't that exciting? Yeah. No one could ever say we didn't. See, that's the magic. That's the Disney. That's the extra magic that the cast members give, when you weren't expecting it. Our listeners, they weren't expecting it. They were expecting what they always get. One dad joke. This week, you're getting a bonus Disney dad joke. When we go and like visit on other people's shows, they ask us for dad jokes, whether it's like on camera, off camera. I think that's really funny. They do. Right. Okay. Well, I don't know how funny it is. Your mileage may vary. Hey, it tries its best. Right. Okay. Are you ready for this week's Disney Dad jokes of the week? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get them done. It is time for this week's Disney Dad Jokes of the Week. Oh, boy. Mimi, in the Disney parks tomorrow, or today, actually, as you're listening to this episode, would be today, as we're recording it tomorrow, they are actually, for one day only, bringing out some very special treats in the Disney parks. Do you know what they are?
No.
Mickey-shaped popsicles.
Okay.
Get it? Pop?
Yes.
It's kind of a word for dad.
Yes.
For people who don't know that.
It's kind of a word for dad.
You know, you call me Papa, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Mickey-shaped popsicles.
Okay.
Like, that one was not the best in the world.
It was okay, though.
That's one of our Disney Dad Jokes of the week. We have another one. Are you ready for this week's bonus Disney Dad Joke of the week?
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, here it is. The bonus Disney Dad Joke of the week. Oh, boy. Sebastian. You know, the crab for Little. You just wrote an article about Little Mermaid. You submitted the bill.
Yeah,
right?
he's not in it at all.
Sebastian is in the Little Mermaid. He's the crab, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what they like to do? You know what his family likes to do for Father's Day? They throw a big celebration.
Celebration.
A celebration for the crab.
Did you come up with that one, or did you find it somewhere?
Everything is an alternate on a theme. Sometimes I come up with something original. Sometimes I see something that might make sense and I apply it to Disney. So
I like that one.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is your bonus Disney Dad Joke of the Week, especially for this particular episode, which is going to land on Father's Day 2023.
And it's important because our show is with a father.
That's true. Yeah, we're making all the connections. If you have a dad joke that you'd like us to consider using on the show, and we haven't used it already, and it's appropriate for the show, go ahead and shoot us an email, disneyassembled@gmail.com, or you can send it to us as a direct message on any of our 4 social network accounts: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, all of them at Disney Assembled.
Yeah. Okay, wait, really quickly. I realized, so I was talking with Andrew, our patron.
You know what scares me real quick before you say that?
Just the beginning of that sentence.
What scares me is that this episode is going so smoothly. So I'm really feeling it. I'm in the groove. I feel like I'm in the zone this week.
Yeah.
All right. You were talking to Andrew.
I was talking to Andrew. And I asked him, like, are you excited about Secret Invasion? And he was like, yeah. And then he went on, like, all these things about it. And I was like, I don't know anything about this show. Oh, excuse me. And it's coming out in like 3 days. And I realized like that I don't know anything about Secret Invasion or what it is or like the plot line, even the characters that are in it. And I think that's funny.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good you do
I'm
that.
excited.
You know, I want to get into this topic week, but I'm feeling a little distracted. We got a new Lego minifigure we put together.
Yeah, I went back to Barnes & Noble and I got another Lego minifigure.
We had King John this time,
We did.
Right?
He's so cute. He has a little money bag and little coins.
Taxes!
He's
That's
funny.
my King John.
Yeah.
This sounds a little bit like King John.
It does sound like King John. I agree.
So there you go. We did that. And there was another Disney thing I wanted to bring to your attention. I can't remember what it was. Oh, Andrew. You talked about Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew submitted a request to be on the show. We'll definitely get back to you on that, Andrew. Don't worry. We didn't not get the request. We've had a couple of people reach out to us. We do need to schedule those guest episodes. But ladies and gentlemen, if you are a Disney content creator or a former cast member,
or
just
a
someone,
person.
a person who just loves talking about Disney and you think it'd be a good conversation for us to have on the show, you know, if you go to our website, disneyassemble.com, there's a page on there called the Be Our Guest. If you click on there and fill out a little form, we'll get a notice that you have done that. I know there's a couple of people who have submitted one a little while back. I do have to get back in touch with them and try to get something scheduled. But yeah, I know sometimes people ask about being on the show. That's the best way, you know, to contact us about potentially being on the show.
Things have finally sort of settled for the summer, at least for a month. So we can actually like get into scheduling things, you know, because it was like beginning of May APs, and then middle of May was like studying for finals. Then end of May was like end of school.
Right.
And then we had like 3 days, and then I left my trip, and now I'm home for a month before I go on another trip.
That's
right. But then I go to camp. But
we're almost 20 minutes in, so let's jump into our topic.
This
is our father figures.
This is why we got that 1 star.
If you're of my age, you might remember, you know, Father Figure is from George Michael. Not really an appropriate song for this particular topic, but for some reason my mind goes there for a second. All right. Father figures. We ranked them from 8 to 1.
We did.
This was not scientific. It was just gut instinct.
Yeah.
Right. Let's kick it off with one that you brought up. Our number 8 best father figure in the Disneyverse.
Yeah.
Who do you have?
So I was actually talking about this character with Andrew in the same conversation about Secret Invasion. Hawkeye. Hawkeye is a father figure to Kate Bishop in a sense, because I don't think you see Kate's dad all that much in the show.
I think Kate's dad is dead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why you don't see him.
Okay.
You see him in the beginning,
and then he's dead.
And then he doesn't make it. Right?
Okay. Well, Hawkeye doesn't necessarily take in Kate like a daughter, but he takes in Kate under his wing as like an apprentice and like a sort of like, let me train you way. But then at the end, you see Kate move into his house, and he really takes Kate into his family. And that's why I think Hawkeye serves as a father-like figure to Kate Bishop.
And he provides a great deal of guidance to Kate because of her determination to become like him. And he has to maybe give her the time to understand what it's really like and what you're really sacrificing to be someone like him. And I don't think she knew that right away.
Right. And he goes out of his way to protect her, specifically during like the party scenes. And he also is a father, right? And so you see a lot of the way that he acts around his children the same way. You see a lot of those behaviors in the way he interacts with Kate, just in this very loving way. He's also old, which makes him a dad to an 18-year-old.
Come on.
That would track.
You don't have to be old. You have to use that way. You can be,
he is older. Old and has knee problems.
Well,
sounds like a dad to me.
No, you can't hear.
Okay, well, even more like problems.
A dad. All right, so Hawkeye, I would agree with you. I think that's a good one for number 8. Hawkeye acting as a father figure towards Kate in Hawkeye, the series. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Number 7 on our list of the top 8 father figures in the Disneyverse, we have Timon and Pumbaa.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Simba.
I think
we know in the Lion King, Simba runs away into the desert and he gets lost and he's found. And we just, we see that he grows up with Timon and Pumbaa.
Right.
We don't see a whole lot of what they teach him other than how to eat bugs. But we have to assume that if Simba has grown into a strong adult lion, that some of the lessons of what it's like to grow up and survive and, just make good choices. Because, he could have grown up to be a real angry lion.
Right.
I mean, he lost his father. He's got a lot to be angry about. He's got a lot of guilt, because, let's face it was his fault. I mean, truth be told. So we have to assume, even though we don't see it in detail, that Timon and Pumbaa are instrumental in helping him grow into a ethical, functioning
adult lion
with a good moral code adult lion.
Yeah. And also, like, you could make the argument that they grew up like, brothers, besties. But Timon and Pumbaa were like adults, like fully formed, whatever they are. What are they? Meerkats and warthogs?
Yeah, there you
go. Fully formed when they met Simba, who was like 5, like a baby. So you have to assume that they took on some sort of like older brother, father figure like role,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This one seems pretty self-explanatory.
Right.
They raised Simba. There must be some sort of fathering.
Right.
Adjacent things going on there.
And since we don't see a whole lot of details, they landed at number 7 on our list. All right. You ready to go to number 6?
Yes.
All right, number 6. Number 6 was one that we didn't get right away, but as we started doing a little research, because we didn't want to accidentally leave someone off the list that we felt belonged on the list. We did do a tiny bit of Google work on this one.
We did a decent amount of Google work, actually. Well, because it was like
less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we were sort of like racking our brains. And at a certain point, we were like, we need some assistance.
Well,
right?
We wanted more than like 4.
Right.
And so we wanted to get maybe some refresher. And this one came up on some of our refresher lists, and that is Merlin from The Sword and the Stone.
Yeah.
This one, Arthur, or he's called Wart because he was, the little page
he
boy
was just sort of like the assistant to Merlin, and then turned into like young version of Merlin, that Merlin sort of like teaches to manage magic, teaches, like helps him learn the ropes, right? And he does come to Arthur's defense at times. Did I keep saying Merlin? Whatever.
I think Merlin sees that Arthur has a power and a destiny in him that the others did not.
Right.
And as a father figure, what he does is he taps in to that piece of who Arthur is that Arthur doesn't even know exists, and inspires Arthur to be a different person because, let's face it, he was the apprentice. He was just being kicked around basically and forced to do chores. No one really thought anything of him. But I think Merlin saw in Arthur his true self, which was eventually to become king. Right. And so, it's kind of goofy and Merlin's dancing around, he's doing all the magic and all that stuff. But he wants to teach Arthur. He wants Arthur to become a better version of himself because he saw that in him. And I think that's a very father figurely thing to do.
He kind of takes on this like grunkle, like weird, distant relative, like physical form, but like in his actions and the way he treats Arthur, he's definitely more of a father figure, I think.
I think so. Yeah. Protective of Arthur, but also wants Arthur to be able to make mistakes and explore and become more competent.
Right.
So yeah, there you go. Number 6 on our list was Merlin from Sword in the Stone. One of our,
underrated movies
not the best drawn film of all time. Plenty of drawing. You could see how they quickly tried to hurry up and put that movie together, but a fun movie nonetheless.
Yeah. Underrated. Go watch it. Okay. Next. Number 5, Baloo and Bagheera. So Bagheera and Baloo sort of take on that like fun dad, fun parent, strict parent thing, I think. And Baloo is kind of an interesting case because Mowgli doesn't meet Baloo until later in his life, right? But Bagheera found him as a baby and, intentionally placed him with the wolves, intentionally placed him with someone who could take care of him better than he could. And I think that embodies what a father is, right? Like setting up your child to be taken care of or to take care of themselves in a way that is either better than you if you are unable to do it or at the equal level of what you can do, right? And there had to be some sort of care about this child to have placed him in such a special place, right? Not to mention the fact that Bagheera does come back and visit Mowgli consistently to check up on his well-being. How's he doing? Keeping him out of trouble, like all these other things. And just a clear father figure there.
When we saw this online to prompt our memory, Baloo was the only one listed. And I insisted and you agreed quickly that Bagheera should be on there as well as a team. And here's why. I think too often in movies and TV shows, the dads are portrayed in a certain light and the moms are portrayed in a certain light. And the truth of the matter is, if you only picked Baloo is the fun guy. And so what does Baloo do with him? He has fun. They play. They don't have a care in the world. They don't care about anything else other than just enjoying life.
Right.
But when it
comes down to it,
when Mowgli's in real danger, Baloo puts himself out there. I mean, he fights Shere Khan and he gets injured, but he comes to Mowgli's physical defense and he has fun and is carefree. Bagheera, for lack of a better way of describing it, and I apologize because I don't mean it to sound, so binary here, but Bagheera plays more of the motherly role, stereotypical motherly role with Mowgli, because he's the careful one. He's making sure he's nurtured and that he's safe and that he doesn't do anything he's not supposed to do. Right. And I think I don't like those stereotypes that are portrayed in film about dads and about how they're just goofy and, but when the chips are down and, your physical danger. I mean, the implication there is that dads don't care about your emotional health or your, psychological well-being, which is not true at all. So we put both of them on the list because the combination of the two we felt made for a more well-rounded fatherly figure.
Yeah.
And in Mowgli's life.
They both have positive and negative aspects, and they're a great parenting duo. They kind of remind me of Cam and Mitch from Modern Family. Like Baloo is so Mitch, and Bagheera, or Bagheera is so Mitch and Baloo is so Cam. Like, that's so true.
That could be. Yeah. I can see that. Now that you say that, I can, and they kind of,
Yeah.
I can see that. Right.
Okay.
I've never thought about that before. So that's good.
Yeah.
All right. So that's our number 5 on our top 8 of the top 8 fatherly figures in the Disneyverse.
Yeah.
We're moving now into the top 4. This is the top half of our 8 listed.
Yes.
Number 4, we have one that I think a lot of people agree with deserves to be higher on the list.
This one resonates with a lot of people. Carl from Up takes Russell in. There's just so many underlying tones and themes and messages, and even sort of quietly Russell mentions to Carl that he doesn't have a dad to present his awards and all the other stuff, and then Carl shows up. Anyway, this one's pretty straightforward. I think you can kind of interpret it of yourself. Because I don't know, for whatever reason you haven't seen Up. That's weird. Go watch Up.
Well,
but
there are movies people haven't seen. There's some that I haven't seen yet that I probably should have, but
yeah, but Up's an iconic one. Yeah. But Carl and Russell in Up, iconic father figure son duo, because it doesn't seem like a grandpa son duo, and it could have.
Right. If you keep in mind, it doesn't appear that Carl and Ellie had children of their own.
Right.
And, by the time Carl and Russell meet, Carl's sort of a grumpy old man who just wants to be left alone. But over time, what we end up with is a situation where Carl, has to become sort of the fatherly figure that he never got to be with Ellie, right?
Right.
And that perhaps, one of his last great adventures, as Carl and Ellie went to go on their adventures, one of his last great adventures was to be that person for Russell. Right. And that he was destined to be that person in Russell's life.
Right.
So
they very clearly have a father-son type relationship versus a grandpa-grandson relationship. And I think that is a really important distinction that was made on purpose. Right.
I think so. Yeah. I agree with you there. Right.
Carl and Russell, heartstrings pulled.
Yep. Right. Wiping tears and moving on. Now, we in the top 3. These are, I really like our top 3.
Yeah.
I think our top 3 speak very clearly to the spirit of what this list was about.
Right.
So our number 3 best father figure in the Disneyverse is
Tony Stark. And obviously he is an actual father to Morgan, right? But that's not what we're talking about. He serves as a father figure to Peter Parker.
Yes.
Continue.
Peter, who doesn't have a father. He had an uncle. The uncle is gone. And he has Aunt May as really the only parent figure in his life. But once he meets Tony Stark and gets involved with Tony Stark and the Avengers, Tony has a very distinct personality. He's kind of standoffish. But Peter Parker's relationship with Tony really becomes very much like a father-son, much more than a mentor-mentee or an employer and employee. It really became a connection between the two. And nothing makes that more evident than in Infinity War when, spoilers, if you haven't seen Infinity War.
It's been 6 years.
Okay. Well, when Peter finally gets dusted, he looks, directly into Mr. Stark, because he still at this time calls him Mr. Stark. But you can tell on Tony's face that Tony is significantly impacted by Peter's, in quotes, death. And then all the way into Infinity, Endgame.
Endgame.
Where the whole episode has a tremendous impact on Tony's outlook on his role in life. And then when he has an opportunity to see, Peter again at the end of Endgame, I believe at some point Peter does refer to him as Tony.
Yeah.
I think near the end. So
the relationship,
sacrifice that Tony ends up making, I want to believe, is directly his greatest father figurely act in an effort to save Peter and everyone else, obviously. But I think he wasn't able to save Peter in Infinity War.
And so now he
has an opportunity to save Peter and sacrifice himself in Endgame, and he does so. And so, again, not that father figures have to sacrifice their lives for their kids, but it is a characteristic of what we would consider fatherly figure, in quotes, behavior.
The relationship
Tony Stark.
becomes I think the attributes of Tony Stark towards Peter Parker were always sort of father figure like. Taking care of him, keeping him out of trouble, mentoring him.
I mean, he was always having fun with him, right?
Yeah, like showing him the ropes, helping him learn and grow up, But then it becomes emotional, right? Then he starts to care about Peter's well-being, about Peter's personal life. He wants to care. He wants to know about MJ. Like he starts becoming involved with Peter, not just Spider-Man. And I think there's like a really clear moment when it happens, and you can see it even before Infinity War, right? Which I think makes Tony Stark one of the best father figures in the MCU.
And Peter's whole development into a hero is based on the example that Tony sets as Iron Man.
Right.
And even the good and the bad, right? Because there are parts of Spider-Man that are very sarcastic and joking and not really taking into account the real danger that's going on. And that's something that Iron Man does too. I mean, his attitude, he's sort of not taking everything seriously, sort of shoot first, ask questions later attitude, which gets people in trouble.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man has a little bit of those attributes that one would consider less mature.
Yeah.
But I think as Tony Stark matures and realizes how important his actions and words are in the grander scheme of things, then you see those lessons come on. It's kind of like any other father, right? We set examples for our children. Some of them are good examples, some of them not so good examples.
Yeah.
And you look back on it and you go, man, I wish I hadn't given that type of an example. Then you have to sort of get your stuff together.
And I think you can see that impact, like direct parallel from Tony to Peter is in No Way Home, right? Like at the end of Endgame, obviously we all know Tony Stark sacrifices himself. And at the end of No Way Home, sort of on a smaller scale, Peter sacrifices essentially his entire life with nobody knows who Spider-Man is, right? And that I can't help but think that is a direct correlation to, like Tony's influence, Tony's what's it called?
I don't know what you're trying to say.
Tony's example, there we go, set for Peter. You could also go as far to say like Happy kind of acts in this way, but it's definitely more Tony than Happy.
Right. All right. We're going to move on to number 2 on our list. And quite frankly, after we've talked about Tony in such detail, Tony could have been number 2. We left him at number 3. We think number 2 could have been number 3 as well as number 2. We put him at number 2.
Yeah, the top 3 is sort of ambiguous.
I think number 1 is, in my mind, clearly number 1. But I think Tony Stark at number 3 makes sense. At number 2, we have another Marvel Universe character coming in. We have Yondu.
Yes.
As part of the Guardians of the Galaxy series of films. So Yondu, for those of you who may not know, he's got blue and he's got the little whistly arrow thingy that he controls. But certainly he is sort of the leader of the Ravagers, right? And
he's the one that takes in Quill initially.
Right. So yes, and if you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy, we haven't seen Volume 3.
Well, I've seen Volume 3.
Well, you have, I have. But Yondu certainly is, without a doubt, even says it in Volume 2. The quote being, he may have been your father, boy, but he wasn't your daddy. And so Yondu clearly was the significant father figure in the life of Peter Quill, who was abducted from Earth,
right?
By the Ravagers in service of Ego,
right?
But ends up hiding. I mean, he ends up protecting Peter Quill.
He takes care of Peter,
right?
And I don't know, like that relationship is so obvious and so clear that I don't know we necessarily need to describe it the same way we did with Tony and Peter, but like that death hit Peter Quill very hard.
And you can tell that at that moment, Peter has come to realize that Yondu was truly the father figure in his life.
In his life, right.
Yondu sacrificing himself for Peter, quite frankly, in Volume 2. And
a lot of the same attributes of Tony Stark and Peter are seen in Yondu and Peter, except Yondu like physically does take in Peter Quill and there were a lot of raises him, all that other stuff.
Well, Peter Parker and Peter Quill have a lot of similar characteristics. They're both sort of immature. They both are pretty intelligent, given who they are. They both have some abilities that maybe they're not fully aware of, that they're still trying to figure out. But they're both very much men of action, right? I mean, they have a tendency in their younger days, it seems, to act first and think second.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only after over time, learning to be a little bit more cautious when they're supposed to be cautious. Right. But yeah, definitely Yondu, an obvious father figure in the Disney universe with Star-Lord, or Peter Quill, as you may know him.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Last one.
We have one left. Why don't we recap? Let's recap our other 7 before we get into number 1. Mimi, you want to go through the list from 8 to 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
So at 8, we have Hawkeye. 7, we have Timon and Pumbaa. At 6, we have Merlin. At 5, we have Baloo and Bagheera. At 4, we have Carl. At 3, we have Tony Stark. And at 2, we have Yondu.
All right. Coming in at number 1, probably not a big surprise for our listeners. This may be the ultimate father figure.
Right.
Because Disney and the Disney universe has provided us with a wonderful character that is enormously popular. And it comes in at number 1 on our list of the top 8 father figures in the Disneyverse. Mimi, please, you want to do a drum roll?
Sure.
Drum roll.
Din Djarin.
The
Mandalorian. He, initially kidnaps the child, kidnaps Grogu.
Bounty hunts
Grogu. And that only grows from there, to say the least.
So it goes without saying that if you have watched The Mandalorian and kept up with that series, the story, for those of you who may not, The Mandalorian starts off season 1. He's a bounty hunter. One of his bounties is to go find this thing. He don't even know what it is yet. He realizes it's a child, even though it's 50 years old. Grogu. It's a species similar to Yoda in the Star Wars universe. And the relationship between Din Djarin and Grogu begins right away, where he goes from just being a bounty to be turned over. And then when Din Djarin realizes what the reasoning behind it, his sense of honor as a Mandalorian sort of kicks in. And then the relationship begins from there, and all the way through the end of season 3, where they're still together and really literally living in a house,
right,
like a family.
Right.
The amount of connections between Din Djarin being Grogu's father is clear in how he's teaching Grogu, he's raising Grogu, he is nurturing Grogu. He isn't. He quite frankly scolds Grogu when Grogu misbehaves.
Yeah.
And he encourages Grogu to, be everything he can be.
Right.
This relationship is so well formed as a father-son type relationship that even when Bo-Katan enters the picture, Din's relationship with her, even though it's not a romantic relationship, she even starts to take on a very familial relationship with Grogu and Din Djarin.
I wouldn't say like a motherly figure, but definitely like an aunt. Yeah.
Right. Like an aunt or something like that. So definitely, in my opinion, this definitely number 1, but go ahead.
Grogu has definitely become like a part of the Mandalorian's family, and he takes care of him in a fatherly way, obviously, protecting him, taking care of him. But I think the most important show of this, sign of this, is when he sent Grogu away with Ahsoka to learn how to be a Jedi, right?
With Luke.
With Luke, yeah. And he was like, I want you to be the best you could be, right? I want you to be who you are. And then approaching him with the choice to be a Mandalorian or a child of Mandalore or to be a Jedi,
right.
Giving Grogu that choice, and Grogu choosing to stay with Din Djarin, I think is a really telling sign of that. And just the whole 3rd season really sort of very much reflects that relationship. And it kind of goes without, we can talk in circles about this, right? But it's a very clear relationship defined there.
As a parent, watching Din Djarin allow Grogu to go off with Luke Skywalker, those were Grogu's college years, right? I mean, he lets him go. He knows, as much as I would want you to stay home and stay with me, you need to explore. You need to get out in the world. You need to hone your craft. You need to learn things that I can't teach you. Because Din Djarin was clearly a teacher as well to Grogu, but he could only do so much. He could only teach Grogu what he knew, and that was the way of the Mandalore. But he knew that Grogu had more in him than
just that, right?
And so allowing him to go off to college, with Luke, it's very emotional. When we watch that, tears were shed. When you go off to college, tears are going to be shed no matter what. I mean, we are prepared for it. We've prepared you for it. We know you're going to be great. We're not worried about your well-being, but it's a change in life, right? It's a big deal. Now, of course, Grogu chooses to come back home. It's like the college student moving back into the house, right? But the fact of the matter is, there are so many clear father figure parallels and connections between Din Djarin's relationship with and Grogu that it had to be number one on our list. I don't think any other character that we've mentioned so far is so clearly a father figure as much as Din Djarin is with Grogu.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
All right, so
sorry, I didn't really have anything else to say. You sort of wrapped it up.
That's okay. No, good.
So yeah, that's our list.
That's our list. The top 8 father figures:
Timon, Pumbaa, Merlin, Blue Bagheera, Carl, Tony Stark, Yondu, and Din Djarin.
All right, guys. Mimi, our listeners, they may have thoughts about father figures, maybe agreements, disagreements, or maybe additions. How can they possibly get in touch with us?
Yeah, so you guys can send us an email, disneyassembled@gmail.com, or you can send us a message on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok, all at Disney Assembled. But if you guys want to support the show further, the link to our TeePublic, Patreon, Buy Us a Dole, all that fun stuff is on our website, disneyassembled.com. Make sure to check it out.
Yeah, do so. And check out the TikToks. We're getting close to 1,000 followers on TikTok. We're up almost to 900. So if you're not following us on TikTok yet, do so. I think lots of fun. We put a lot of fun, different content, but it's all Disney related on TikToks. Right. Do that. If you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, you need to do that as well. We're up just over 100 subscribers there. Thank you so much for your support. We've been putting some more stuff on YouTube as we can, which has been great, and we really enjoyed doing that. So if you haven't subscribed yet to the YouTube channel, please consider doing so. Just go to youtube.com, do a search for Disney Assembled, or go to youtube.com/Disney Assembled or at Disney Assembled, one of those two. All right. Mimi, high five.
Yeah.
Good job. Happy Father's Day to me.
Happy Father's Day, Papa.
To me.
To you.
I am the father.
Yeah.
I am your father.
I had to do that. I wasn't going to do that, and I had to do it. I am your father.
Okay. Anyway.
Guys, we hope you've enjoyed the show. We hope it brought a smile to your face, some extra magic to your day, and a little bit of pixie dust sprinkled into your week. Thanks for listening, and until next time, see you real soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, please collect your belongings, watch your head and step, and take small children by the hand.